So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts, in which we cover the entire day's current affairs within 30 minutes. Now just watching this lecture would be job half done. I say this every time. Just watching this lecture would be job half done because just after watching it you need to revise it, because revision helps in consolidating these current affairs in your memory. Otherwise you'll quickly forget them. You can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. So do revise your notes. Okay, let's begin today's session. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. Okay, so daily current affairs, 9th of July, it's Wednesday, and here is the list. Today we are going to be covering 4 topics only, because these were the only 4 topics of significance as far as your civil services preparation is concerned. The other news items were not that significant. Okay, so number 1 on this list is India's digital divide. Okay, you all know about digital divide. Some population groups have access to digital services, some don't. So this is the digital divide. Okay, so we'll talk about this because recently a report has been published. Then we'll talk about Admiralty Act 2017. Okay, because Kerala High Court basically ordered an arrest of a ship using this Admiralty Act. So we'll talk about this. Then third news item is first anti-malarial drug for infants. Okay, generally anti-malarial therapy or anti-malarial drugs are given to adults or adolescents, but the vulnerable group, that is the children who are infected with malaria, there is no drug for them. So this would be the first drug for infants under 6 months old children. Okay, and last but definitely not the least, Bulgaria admitted to Eurozone. We all have heard about European Union. Now within this European Union there is a subgroup, okay, which is known as the Eurozone. Now Bulgaria is part of European Union but not part of Eurozone. So we'll talk about what this Eurozone area is. Okay, so these are the 4 topics that we shall zero in our attention on. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with topic number 1, and that is India's digital divide. Now look, you need to be aware of this concept called digital divide. You see, the entire world is online now, okay? The entire world is digitally equipped. But there are some population groups in India that do not have access to complete digital services, right? So in this era, in this 21st century, if you do not have access to digital services, you would be left behind. Because most of the services, most of the essential things are now available online. Therefore, it is essential for all population groups in India to have digital services. Because first of all, India believes in inclusive growth. And inclusive growth means, well, they say sabka saath, sabka vikas. That means everyone should be included in India's growth story. Now, the thing is that everyone can only be included in India's growth story if they have access to all digital services, because whoever is not having access to digital services in 21st century would be definitely left behind. So this is a constant endeavor of Government of India to include more and more people into this digital India, right? Now, this is known as digital divide. Some people have digital services, some people don't. Okay, this is digital divide. Now, to know how steep this digital divide is in India, well, there are constant surveys that are conducted by the government, and the reports are published periodically. One such report has been published of a survey conducted by National Sample Survey. Okay, so National Sample Survey conducted this survey and it talked about digital divide in India. So what are the conclusions of that survey? We'll talk about this. Okay, so let's straight away jump into this topic. India's digital divide. First of all, what is this organization that conducted the survey? It's National Sample Survey, short form NSS, famous short form. Okay, the title of their report was the Comprehensive Modular Survey Telecom 2025, and they basically gave their conclusions on India's digital divide. Now you all know what digital divide is basically, right? You have a basic idea what digital divide is, right? So it gave its report on digital divide. Now, in its report, it said that India has made some remarkable improvements in the past 5 years with respect to closing this gap, okay, between digitally equipped populations and people who do not have access to digital services. So India is closing this gap very quickly. Okay, so there have been some remarkable improvements, but side by side, this report also concluded that there are still some areas where we can improve. Okay, and we need to improve. Clear? Now, let's talk a little bit more about this thing called digital divide. Okay, so basically, basically, you know what digital divide is. Okay, people who have access to digital services, people who don't. But there are 4 components to digital divide. Okay, basically, digital divide is measured through these 4 parameters. Now, what are these 4 parameters? Okay, first of all, access gap. Access gap means how many people have access to basic internet services, digital services, and how many people don't. This is the access gap. Then there is usage gap. Okay, there are some types of people who have digital services, but they are only using basic digital services like Google and all. And there are some types of people who have digital services and they use all types of digital services for entertainment purposes also, for doing online banking also. Okay, so basically your usage of internet also decides whether there is digital gap or not, digital divide or not. Okay, if you're using only basic services, well, you're inferior. If you're using all types of services, a little superior as far as this digital divide is concerned. So usage gap is also measured. Then skills gap. How many people are equipped with, well, internet technologies? Let me rephrase that. How many people know how to use internet? Okay, everyone is using internet to watch reels or watch YouTube videos and all these things, right? But how many people can use internet to create something, to create PowerPoint presentations, to create all sorts of things? Basically, are you just a passive consumer of internet services, or do you use internet to create certain things, certain economic things from which you can earn your livelihood as well? Okay, so this is skills gap. And then there is gender gap. We all understand what gender gap is, right? Now, like I said before, the conclusion of this report was that India has made some remarkable improvements. And there are some reasons behind that remarkable improvement. Okay, behind these remarkable improvements. There are various reasons, because for many years, Government of India has been conducting various reforms. Okay, these are known as first generation of digital reforms. As per this article in the Hindu newspaper, they said that, well, there have been remarkable improvements, definitely no doubt about that. But those remarkable improvements were because of certain reforms conducted by Government of India. Those set of reforms that led to this remarkable improvement, that set of reforms is known as first generation of digital reforms. So what were these first generation of digital reforms? Okay, well, first of all, BharatNet, through which, well, lakhs and lakhs of gram panchayats were connected through broadband, okay, using fiber optic cables. So internet was provided to every village of India, almost every village of India. So BharatNet connected over 1.7 lakh gram panchayats with optical fiber, enabling digital services in remote villages. Now this became the backbone for e-governance. What is e-governance? Well, government is providing government services online. Okay, so this, because now government services are available to the remotest village, because those remotest villages have access to the internet courtesy BharatNet program. Then there was Digital India framework. Slowly and gradually, and not so slowly also, government has been expanding its digital footprint. Most of the services of the government are now available online, and you don't have to go to government offices. You can just log in and gather whatever you need from the government. Okay, so under Digital India mission, government wanted to give universal access to these services to everyone. So for example, well, DigiLockers, online government services are available online. There are so many services, DigiLocker. Then there was CoWIN app, which basically digitized vaccine applications for COVID-19, right? So this is there. Then PMG Disha literacy drive. What was this literacy drive all about? Okay, well, very simply put, internet was provided to everyone. but many people did not have the skill set to use this internet. So to provide them with basic digital usage services, how to use the internet, how to log in, how to log out, all these basic literacy that was required by, well, people of these remote villages was provided under Disha literacy drive. And then, well, UPI, expansion of UPI, then Jam Trinity, Jan Dhan Yojana, where every person was provided with bank account, linked them with the Aadhaar and their mobile number. Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile, Jam Trinity. It is because of this Jam Trinity that nowadays subsidies are provided directly into your bank accounts. Earlier, not many people had bank accounts, especially people living in these remote areas. But through Jan Dhan Yojana, everyone has a bank account. Everyone's bank account is linked with Aadhaar, so there is no fake bank account. There are no fake bank accounts, and they are also linked to their mobile number. So UPI can be used because UPI is linked to your mobile number, right? UPI can be used. Well, subsidies and many other government goodies can be provided directly into your bank account. So this really improved governance in India. Okay? Make sense? So these were the first generation reforms. And what were the outcomes of these reforms? What were these remarkable improvements? Okay? So the outcomes were as following. Near universal mobile usage. Okay? About 97% of the youth now use mobile phones for calls and internet, including 92.7% in rural areas. Okay? So this is a remarkable achievement for India. Well, nobody would have imagined this 10 years back. Okay? So it's a remarkable improvement. Then UPI's dominance in payments. Most of the people nowadays are using Bharat Pay, Phone Pay, Google Pay. People have reduced their usage of cash and they are relying more and more on digital payments. So this is there. Then mobile-centric internet, because people are now accessing, because mobile phones are cheap, mobile data is cheap, internet on mobile data is cheap. Therefore, poor people who were not connected with the internet because they lacked laptops, desktops, computers, now have mobile phones. So more Indians are accessing internet through smartphones. Yes, usage of laptops and other things is less, but because of smartphones, internet penetration has increased. Okay? And one good thing about this, this bridging of this digital divide gap, one parameter of digital divide was gender gap, right? So this has also improved. Rise in female internet users. Female internet usage in rural India rose from 77% to 91.3%. Make sense? Right? Now the thing is that there have been some remarkable improvements. Definitely. The conclusion of this report is that. But this report also points out some shortcomings that are still there. And what are those shortcomings? Okay, let's talk about those shortcomings. So current shortcomings. Well, still there is some gender gap. And that gender gap expresses itself how? The thing is that, well, internet usage among rural females has increased, but mobile ownership among females has not increased that much. That means these females are using internet which is on phones, on smartphones, which are owned by their male relatives. You understand? So the ownership of the phone is with the male relatives and they use that phone for internet consumption. So we need to increase smartphone ownership among females. There is this gender gap. Then this was also the conclusion of the report, that most of these rural females rely on their male counterparts or their male relatives to use internet. Even if they own a phone, some of them lack the required skill set to operate internet, and that is why they rely on their male counterparts, their male relatives, to help them out consuming these digital services, right? So we need to increase digital literacy among females in rural India. Okay, so this gender gap still exists. Okay, this form of internet is there, available to them, but, well, mobile ownership and usage of internet, skill set for usage of internet is still lacking. Then lack of productive skills, because it was found out that most of the internet consumption is consumption only. They're not using internet for productive things, okay, for maybe economic things, for creating something, creating PowerPoint presentations, videos and all that, okay. That skill set is still lacking. So this is there. Then people lack low civic tech awareness. And how was this measured? There are these cyber frauds. And now that more and more people are online, cyber frauds have also increased. And because these people lack digital literacy, they're more vulnerable to cyber frauds. Plus, it was surveyed and it was found out that most of them did not know how to complain for this cyber fraud, where to lodge a complaint. So there is low civic tech awareness and, well, weak financial fluency, basically digital literacy. So these are the areas where we still need to work on. And that is why this article in the Hindu newspaper advocated for second generation digital reforms, which would focus more on digital literacy rather than providing access to internet, because that job has been done under BharatNet program and all that. Okay, so PMG Disha literacy drive should be increased. Basically, that is what we mean by second generation digital reforms. To solve for these current shortcomings, we need second generation of digital reforms. Make sense? All right. Okay. Now let's talk about second news item, and that is Admiralty Act 2017. Well, you must have read about this in the news that there was this ship, Liberian ship, that was stranded off the coast of Kerala and it sank. And basically there was this threat of oil spill also. Now that was a big issue back then, like a few weeks back, that Liberian ship sank near the coast of Kerala. Okay. Now the thing is that the shipping company that owned that ship was basically responsible for a big ecological disaster. If God forbid, oil spill had happened, then it would have led to a serious ecological disaster, right? So look, the thing is that that shipping company was responsible for that. Now that shipping company owes our people some compensation for their irresponsibility, right? Therefore, Kerala government filed a suit against this shipping company in Kerala High Court, okay? And Kerala High Court basically ordered the arrest of that ship. Now you might say, what do you mean by what do you mean by arresting a ship? You arrest a person. How can you arrest a ship? Well, we'll talk about it, okay? Now, the order passed by Kerala High Court, or the suit filed by Kerala government in Kerala High Court, was filed under Admiralty Act 2017. Okay, so let's talk about it, okay? So Admiralty Act 2017. So this ship, the name of this ship that sank off the coast of Kerala was called MSC Akiteta 2. Okay. Now this was a Liberian ship from Liberia, and the shipping company should be held responsible. Now recently, Kerala government filed a suit against this shipping company in Kerala High Court, right? Now, Kerala High Court ordered conditional arrest order for this ship, and this order was passed under Admiralty Jurisdiction and Settlement of Maritime Claims 2017 Act. Clear? Now, the question is, what is this Admiralty Act? Look, Admiralty Act basically is a law that governs all these maritime disputes. Now, earlier, well, the power to issue arrest or the power to prosecute someone for irresponsibility in maritime domain lied with, well, Bombay High Court, Madras High Court, Kolkata High Court. Okay, but this Admiralty Act provided this power, or this power to settle maritime disputes to all the high courts on India's coastline. Clear? So this is the law under which Kerala High Court passed this judgment. Okay, first let's talk about this law. So Admiralty Act 2017. So it's a central legislation. That means though Kerala High Court passed this order, but this law was not enacted by Kerala Assembly. This law was enacted by the Parliament. So it's a central legislation that consolidates and updates laws on maritime claims, maritime jurisdiction, arrest of ships, enforcement of maritime liens in India. Okay, the law grants maritime jurisdiction to high courts of Kerala, Karnataka, Odisha, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. Okay, earlier these courts did not have maritime jurisdiction. They only have their territorial jurisdiction only extended to land. They did not have maritime jurisdiction in the maritime courts. And the jurisdiction to maritime courts was a jurisdiction in maritime domain was only given to Kolkata High Court, Madras High Court, Bombay High Court. Now under Admiralty Act, well, the territorial jurisdiction of other states or high courts of other states lying on India's coastline has also been enhanced. Now their territorial jurisdiction also extends to maritime domain in the sea. Okay, so this law grants maritime jurisdiction to these high courts. And if there is any problem, if there is a maritime dispute, you can use this law. The state government can use this law to file a case against the shipping company or any other party responsible for this. Okay, and using this law, Kerala government filed a suit against Liberian ship company, and based on that, Kerala High Court gave this order. Okay, now under this law, this is very important. Basically, the reason why I introduced this news item into today's lecture was to make you understand these two terms. Okay, this last line is very important. This law allows the courts to take legal action against the vessel, against the ship, as well as the shipping company or the ship owner. Okay, now when you take legal action against the ship, now you might say that ship is a non-living thing. What do you mean by arresting a ship? Okay, I'll tell you about it. Okay, or you can directly take legal action against the ship owner. Now when you take legal action against a thing, non-living thing, it is called in rem. It's a Latin term. Okay, in rem. When you take legal action against a person, it's called in personam. This law allows in rem action, in personam action. Okay, now what do you mean by in rem action? We all understand what in personam action is. When you take legal action against a person, arrest them, detain them, whatever. What about thing? What do you mean by taking legal action against a thing? Well, the thing is that when you take a legal action against a thing, you basically pass an order regarding that thing. Let's suppose a ship. And everyone which is dealing with that ship has to follow those rules, those orders. So for example, Kerala High Court can say that we are confiscating this ship and now this ship belongs to Kerala government. So all the other parties, even Liberia also has to honor that. That's an order against a thing. If you take legal action against the ship owner, well, that we all understand. In personam actions we all understand. This is in rem. This law allows in rem as well as in personam action. Now what is the significance of this law? Okay, so the significance is as following. Well, through this law we can ensure environmental accountability. Okay, there is environmental accountability. So if you damage the environment, well, you will have to pay compensation, governed as per the rules published under this law. Okay, so this is good. Then it also boosts investor confidence, because the thing is that, well, investors are mostly involved, or not, many foreign parties are involved in maritime domain. And when they are involved in maritime domain, they are bound to be maritime disputes. Now, if you have a proper law that follows all the international conventions to deal with these maritime disputes, then foreign parties also have the confidence to do business in India in the maritime domain. Okay, so this Admiralty Act tries to achieve that. So investor confidence gets boosted. Plus, environmental damage shall be held accountable. You'll have to pay compensation, and you'll also punish the guilty party. Okay, so this instills confidence among fishermen and the coastal economy, operators of the coastal economy, or people in that coastal economy. Why? Because if there is an environmental damage, these people are affected the most. So they are happy about this, that there is a law that protects our environmental rights as well in this area and our livelihood. Okay. Then legal empowerment of non-metropolitan courts. Like I said before, earlier maritime jurisdiction belonged to Bombay, Madras and Calcutta High Court. Now it has been extended to other high courts on the coastline as well. Clear? So this is there. Plus this law follows all the international conventions, international laws. UN clause, United Nations Convention on Law of the Seas. Okay, the provisions of this law, international law, are followed in this Admiralty Act. Then International Maritime Organization, IMO, their conventions are also followed under this law. So that is why investor confidence gets boosted, because you're following international best practices. You understand the point? Okay. Now let's move on to third news item, and that is first anti-malarial drug for infants. Now you all know about malaria. Okay, it is mostly a tropical or subtropical disease. It mostly affects, well, tropical and subtropical countries of Africa and Asia mostly. But it's a very dangerous disease, and if it is left untreated, or if the symptoms are allowed to aggravate, it might even lead to death. Now malaria happens through, well, infection of a malarial parasite, and that malarial parasite enters your body through the bite of female Anopheles mosquito. And we all know that tropical and subtropical areas are full of mosquitoes. Okay, it is this area where mosquitoes flourish. Mosquitoes don't flourish in colder regions, temperate regions. They flourish in tropical and subtropical regions, and that is why malaria, well, malaria or the incidence of malaria is more in tropical and subtropical regions. Nonetheless, if you're infected with malaria, well, there are malarial drugs, anti-malarial drugs, but there was no anti-malarial drug for children, or I should say infants, newborns who are less than 6 months old, and they are also vulnerable to malaria. In these poor African countries or in these poor Asian countries, even kids get bit by female Anopheles mosquito, and they are also infected with malaria. And for them, malaria can be fatal. And when they are infected with malaria, there is no anti-malarial drug for them. Okay, because the anti-malarial drug that exists, it exists for adults. It cannot be given to children because it might cause complications. So there was no anti-malarial drug for this vulnerable age group, that is infants, right? But now the discovery has been made, and final approval was given recently by Swiss government, okay, Switzerland, and now it will be given by, well, African countries as well. Basically, this was in the news. The world now welcomes this first ever anti-malarial drug for infants. This was in the news. Okay, so we'll talk about this drug, and then we'll try to learn some facts about malaria. Okay, so first anti-malarial drug for infants. Okay, so the name of the drug is Coartem Baby. Okay, it's called Coartem Baby. It was developed by Novartis, okay, in collaboration with Medicines for Malaria Venture and other global health partners. This medicine is for newborns up to 6 months, infants. It was approved by Swissmedic. Swissmedic is the regulator in Switzerland. All medicines in Switzerland are approved by Swissmedic. And now, after the approval by Swissmedic, 8 African nations are all set, all ready to give approval for usage in their own countries. Okay, because like I said before, malaria is, well, most rampant in Asian and African countries. In fact, in African countries, way more than Asian countries. Clear? It is rampant in India as well. Because sadly, or not so sadly, well, India is also mostly a tropical country. Of course, there are some areas that have temperate style climate, but hilly areas, Kashmir and all that. But most of India is tropical, and that is why malaria flourishes over here if you do not take care of certain things. Nonetheless, some few facts about malaria. So about malaria, well, it is caused by malarial parasite. So the causative agent for malaria is malarial parasite, but it enters your body through the bite of female Anopheles mosquito. So female Anopheles mosquito does not cause malaria. Malaria is caused by malarial parasite, but it enters your body through this female Anopheles mosquito, and that is why this mosquito is known as the vector. Vector is that organism through which the parasite, bacteria, virus enters your body. Okay, the carrier of virus or bacteria, that is a vector. So vector for malaria, if this question is asked, is female Anopheles mosquito. Okay, now malaria is totally preventable, totally curable. Okay, for prevention there are some normal techniques. Protect yourself from mosquito bites. There are mosquito repellent creams. In poorer areas of Africa and in India also, there are insect repellent tents. So babies sleep in these nets so that mosquito cannot enter and bite them. Okay, insecticidal creams are there, insecticidal fumes are there, defumigation happens. Plus you have to take care of sanitation in your area so that mosquitoes do not multiply. So these are some prevention related measures. Then if you are infected with malaria, you are prescribed anti-malarial drugs. So cure is also available. Now, apart from these simple prevention measures, there is a vaccine also that is available that also prevents malaria. Okay, and that vaccine is WHO approved. It is called RTS-SAS01, a complicated name, but that is the thing. Okay, so it is a WHO approved malarial vaccine, but well, it is criticized for not being that effective. That is why it is not that famous also. Nonetheless, it is approved by WHO. Clear? Now the vulnerable countries, the countries vulnerable to malaria are tropical and subtropical regions of Africa and Asia. Right? That's about it. That's all you need to know. Okay? And now let's move on to fourth and the last topic of today's lecture, and that is, well, Bulgaria admitted to Eurozone. So recently European Union or European Commission, they announced that Bulgaria will be admitted to Eurozone. Now, the reason why I included this news item in today's lecture was that I want you to understand, first of all, what is this Eurozone and how different it is from European Union. Okay? And second is you need to have some geographical information about Bulgaria. Okay, because geographical or location based MCQs are asked in prelims. Okay, they ask location based questions, map based questions in prelims. Okay, therefore you need to know about Bulgaria, its geographical location, and in which region of Europe does it lie. Okay, so that is the thing. That is why I have included this news item. So let's straight away jump into it. Okay, so Bulgaria admitted to Eurozone. So European Commission or leaders of European Union announced that Bulgaria shall be admitted to Eurozone. Now remember, Bulgaria is already part of European Union, but it was not part of Eurozone. Okay, but after this decision, now Bulgaria will also be part of Eurozone. So what is the difference between European Union and Eurozone? We'll come to that, but first let's talk about some geographical information about Bulgaria, right? So about Bulgaria. Now, the reason why I included this news item in today's lecture was to make you aware of this term called the Balkans. Balkans is a region in Europe. Okay, basically southeastern region of Europe is known as Balkans. Okay, and Bulgaria is basically part of Balkans. So this area, as you can see, this is Italy, all right, and this region is known as the Balkan Peninsula or the Balkans, and all these countries lying in this region are called Balkan countries. Okay, simple. Bulgaria is just one of them. Now some maps include Greece in Balkans, Greece and northern Turkey, the Istanbul portion of Turkey. Okay, so in some maps of the world, well, northern Turkey and Greece are also included in this Balkan region, and some maps exclude Greece and northern Turkey. Okay, but these countries are for sure included in the Balkan region. This region lies in southeastern Europe. Okay, so this is known as Balkan. At one point of time, this entire region was Yugoslavia. then it all broke up. So all these countries were once part of this one big country called Yugoslavia, then all of them separated, disintegrated. Okay, nonetheless, this region is Balkans, and this country over here, the green country over here, is Bulgaria. Okay, now for map-based questions in UPSC or any other civil services examination, well, Bulgaria lies in Balkan region in southeastern Europe. It shares its coastline with the Black Sea, okay, and it mostly lies in the Danube river basin. So the most famous river that flows through Bulgaria is Danube river. Okay, clear? That's about it. Now, as far as the culture of Bulgaria is concerned, well, the culture of Bulgaria is mixed. Okay, there are a lot of other cultures that have just combusted into one. Okay, so basically the culture of Bulgaria has Persian influences, yes. Turkish influence, Ottoman Turkish influence, because it's close to Turkey, right? It has Greek influence, Greek culture, okay? It has Persian, Ottoman, Greek, European, overall European culture, right? So that is why Bulgaria or Bulgarian culture is also a melting pot of these diverse cultures, famous for its dance, cultural activities and all that. It's a beautiful country, okay? So that's all as far as the geographical information about Bulgaria is concerned. By the way, the capital of Bulgaria is Sofia. Okay. Now, Bulgaria is part of European Union, but was not part of European or Eurozone. Now, what's the difference between the two? Now, let's come to that. Okay. So, Eurozone and EU. Well, look. European Union is basically an economic union of countries, of European countries, and its members are 27 European countries. Okay? Now, some of those, as you all know, that in European Union, most countries of European Union have one single currency, and that is Euro. You all know about that. In France also the currency is Euro. In Germany also the currency is Euro. Right? Now, European Union countries have this common currency called Euro, but not all European Union countries have this common currency. Some European Union countries have decided to have their own national currency. Okay? Now, countries that have decided to have a common currency called Euro, they are known as Eurozone countries or the Eurozone area. And before Bulgaria, there were 20 such countries. So these 20 countries, which are part of European Union, have a single common currency called Eurozone area. Okay? Now with Bulgaria, Bulgaria would become the 21st member. It had applied in 2009, I guess. But now it has been finally admitted to Eurozone area. So it will give up its own currency and introduce Eurozone. Euro. Clear? So this is the thing. Alright. Now, as you all know, India uses which currency? Rupees. Right? And who regulates rupees in India? Who controls supply of rupees in India? Money supply of rupees in India? That's RBI. RBI is known as the Central Bank of India. Every country has a central bank which regulates the supply of their national currency. But because these countries of European Union have a common currency, therefore they need a common central bank also that would decide the supply of euro in all these countries. For that, European Union has European Central Bank, which is the major regulating authority with respect to euro. Just know this part as well. Okay, that's about it. Clear? So now you understand what Balkans are. What is this region called Balkans? You know what is the difference between European Union and Eurozone area. Alright, and on that note, I'll be signing off. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it would add more value if you are first consistent and regular with this lecture series, and second, you revise this lecture from the notes provided by us on our Telegram channel. So please do not forget to do both these things. And I will be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.